The sun had barely begun to paint the horizon with hues of gold and pink over the rolling plains of Nebraska, but for Sarah, the dawn felt like just another shadow in a world that had collapsed around her. Standing on the porch of her small farmhouse, she wrapped her arms around herself, the crisp morning air doing little to soothe the ache in her heart. It had been 6 months since the wildfire swept through the heartland, turning her family's generations-old farm into a charred landscape of loss. The fields that once swayed with corn and soybeans were now blackened earth, the barn reduced to a skeleton of ash and memory, and the home she had shared with her husband, Mark, and their 2 children was a hollow shell. Sarah's motivations had always been simple and deep-rooted: to nurture the land, to provide for her family, and to honor the legacy her ancestors had built with sweat and love. But now, at 52, she felt those dreams slipping through her fingers like the very ashes that coated her hands. Her emotional state was a turbulent mix of grief, fear, and a gnawing self-doubt that whispered she wasn't strong enough to rebuild. The initial challenges were overwhelming: the financial strain from the uninsured losses, the emotional toll of seeing her children, Emily and Jake, struggle with the trauma of losing their home, and the physical exhaustion of sifting through debris day after day. Every morning, she would wake with a knot in her stomach, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. She found herself questioning everything. Why had this happened? Was it a punishment for some unknown failure? The fear of failure, of letting her family down, haunted her dreams and colored her days with a gray pallor. In those early weeks, Sarah's coping mechanisms were raw and human. She cried in the privacy of the temporary trailer they had set up on the property, her tears mingling with the dust of what once was. She avoided neighbors' sympathetic glances, feeling too ashamed to accept help, as if admitting she needed it would confirm her inadequacy. But slowly, the resilience that had been woven into her soul by years of farming life began to stir. It started with small decisions made under stress. One day, she forced herself to plant a few seeds in a small patch of soil she had cleared, her hands trembling as she buried them in the earth. It felt like an act of defiance against the devastation, a tiny spark of hope in the ashes. As the seasons shifted from the bleakness of winter to the tentative warmth of spring, Sarah's journey of personal growth unfolded gradually. She began to attend community meetings, where other farmers shared their own stories of loss and recovery. Listening to them, she realized she wasn't alone in her struggle, and that shared humanity eased the isolation that had gripped her. She started journaling, pouring her fears and frustrations onto paper, and in doing so, she uncovered a well of inner strength she hadn't known she possessed. The psychological battle was intense. There were days when self-doubt screamed that rebuilding was impossible, that they should just sell the land and move on. But then she would remember Mark's words, spoken in happier times, about how the land had a way of healing itself and those who tended it. She leaned into that memory, using it as an anchor in the storm of her emotions. Her coping evolved from solitary tears to reaching out. She accepted offers of help from neighbors, who brought tools, seeds, and most importantly, companionship. Together, they cleared more land, built a new chicken coop, and planted a small garden. With each small victory, like the first green shoots pushing through the soil, Sarah felt a flicker of empowerment. It wasn't a sudden surge, but a slow, steady build, like the sunrise over the plains. She learned to reframe her thoughts, shifting from "I can't do this" to "I am doing this," one step at a time. The emotional experiences were profound. She faced the fear of another disaster head-on, installing better fire breaks and learning new sustainable farming techniques that reduced risk. She grappled with guilt over the time spent away from her children, but in turn, she saw them blossom as they helped in the garden, their laughter returning like music to the once silent fields. Through it all, Sarah discovered that resilience wasn't about being unbreakable, but about bending without snapping, about finding strength in vulnerability. The transformative climax came on a bright summer morning, as she stood in the middle of the newly sprouting fields, the air rich with the scent of damp earth and growth. The farm was far from what it once was, but it was alive again, a testament to perseverance. In that moment, a profound sense of gratitude washed over her, not for the material things lost or regained, but for the journey itself. She realized that the ashes had fertilized not just the soil, but her soul. The wisdom she gained was clear: life's greatest trials aren't obstacles to avoid, but opportunities to grow, to connect more deeply with others, and to uncover reserves of courage we never knew we had. She understood that gratitude isn't about ignoring pain, but about finding light in the darkness, about cherishing the small joys, the taste of a homegrown tomato, the warmth of a neighbor's handshake, the resilience of her children's smiles. This lesson transformed her outlook. She no longer saw herself as a victim of circumstance, but as a steward of renewal, empowered by the very struggles that had once threatened to break her. As the story concludes, Sarah looks out over the heartland, now dotted with green promise, and feels a deep, abiding peace. She knows challenges will come again, but she faces them with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit fortified by resilience. Her journey from ashes to gratitude reminds us all that even in our darkest hours, we have the capacity to rise, to rebuild, and to find beauty in the broken places. It leaves the audience with an inspiring message, that the human spirit is like the land itself, capable of incredible renewal when nurtured with hope, community, and an unwavering belief in tomorrow. Let this story encourage you to embrace your own struggles, for within them lies the seed of your greatest strength, waiting to blossom into a life filled with purpose and grace. Break time equals fives, greater than in the bustling city of New York, amidst the towering skyscrapers and relentless pace, lived a woman named Maya. She had moved here 2 years ago with dreams of becoming a successful graphic designer, drawn by the city's vibrant energy and endless opportunities. Maya's days were a blur of deadlines, client meetings, and late nights in her small apartment, fueled by coffee and a fierce determination to prove herself. But beneath the surface, she battled a constant undercurrent of self-doubt and fear. Growing up in a quiet suburb, she had always been the shy, artistic kid, and now, in this competitive environment, she often felt like an imposter, questioning if she truly belonged. Her initial challenges were immense, struggling to find her unique voice in a saturated market, facing rejection from potential clients, and grappling with loneliness in a city of millions. The emotional toll was heavy, sleepless nights were filled with anxiety, and she frequently caught herself comparing her progress to others, feeling like she was falling behind. Maya's coping mechanisms were simple yet telling. She would retreat into long walks through Central Park, sketching in her notebook, trying to capture the city's essence while avoiding the pressures of her career. It was a fragile balance, and she often wondered if her dreams were worth the constant strain. As the months passed, Maya's struggles intensified. A major project fell through due to miscommunication, leaving her financially strained and emotionally drained. She felt a deep sense of failure, her confidence shattered, and for the first time, she considered giving up and returning home. The fear of not being good enough gnawed at her, and she isolated herself further, canceling social plans and spending hours staring at blank canvases, paralyzed by perfectionism. But in her lowest moments, she remembered her grandmother's words: "Strength isn't about never falling, it's about getting up one more time than you fall." This tiny spark of wisdom ignited something within her. Maya decided to shift her focus from external validation to internal growth. She started small, setting aside time each day to meditate and reflect on her journey, acknowledging her fears without letting them control her. She reached out to a mentor in her field, someone who had faced similar hurdles, and their conversations revealed that everyone, no matter how successful, had moments of doubt. This connection was a turning point. It taught her the power of vulnerability and community. Gradually, Maya began to embrace her imperfections, viewing each setback as a lesson rather than a defeat. She experimented with new design styles, drawing inspiration from her walks and the diverse cultures around her, and slowly, her work started to resonate more authentically. The emotional transformation was profound. She felt a growing sense of empowerment, realizing that resilience wasn't about avoiding pain but about learning from it. Her decisions under stress became more deliberate. She prioritized self-care, set healthier boundaries with clients, and even started a small workshop to help other aspiring artists, sharing her story to inspire them. This act of giving back filled her with a deep sense of purpose, and she discovered that her struggles had given her a unique empathy and wisdom. The climax came when Maya landed a high-profile project that required her to design a campaign for a local community center. It was daunting, but instead of succumbing to fear, she channeled her experiences into her work, creating designs that told stories of resilience and hope. The project was a resounding success, not just professionally but personally. It symbolized her journey from self-doubt to self-belief. In that moment, she understood that true strength comes from within, forged through adversity and nurtured by compassion. Maya's story culminated in a powerful realization: life's challenges are not obstacles to be avoided but opportunities to grow, and that by embracing our vulnerabilities, we unlock our greatest potential. She now walks through the city with a renewed sense of purpose, her heart lighter, knowing that every step, no matter how difficult, has shaped her into the resilient, wise person she is today. Her journey leaves us with an inspiring message: no matter how dark the night, dawn always follows, and within each of us lies an unbreakable spirit, waiting to be discovered through courage and perseverance.